Now, as the European Union looks to strengthen its commitment to resolving the ongoing Israel-Palestine conflict, the arts in the region continue to live on. An example of this is the Freedom Theatre, a community theatre centre in the Jenin refugee camp in the West Bank. Working from the premise that art is a catalyst for change, Freedom Theatre stages hard-hitting, edgy productions that have won international acclaim. Their latest play, The Siege, is a story inspired by events which happened in Bethlehem in 2002. Well, the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem was home to 200 monks and numerous Palestinians. In 2002, this holy place became home to many others when Israeli troops occupied Bethlehem to capture Palestinian militants in a siege that lasted for 39 days. Well, the Freedom Theatre will be touring London with The Siege for the first time, and I'm delighted to welcome to the studio Zoe Lafferty, who's the play's Associate Director, and the Artistic Director, Nabil Al-Raee. Very good morning to both of you. This play has been inspired by real events. They're going to resonate strongly with some people, but not necessarily with others. Did you feel that perhaps there was a danger that what happened in 2002 could just become a footnote in history, that somehow the significance will be lost on the wider world?
Yes, I mean, if you just go back to what happened and the way how it was presented, actually, there was one side story, and it was the other side wasn't actually covered. So we felt the responsibility from our side to present the Palestinian narrative of this story, and for the people also to open their mind and ask the question. It's not only telling them what to do, it's also just to open the story again, since it is a story that happened and it's still happening. You're talking about the story that's still happening, because after the deal and after the agreement that was made, the people who were sent to exile between Gaza and the European countries, they are still there, and they never came back.
So it's still this sense of homelessness, wandering, never being able to return to your place, to your roots.
Right.
Why do you think it was important to tell this story now? What was the trigger?
I think specifically in Britain, it's a story that's set in a place that we're very, very close to, the Church of the Nativity. We celebrate it every year. And so you've got part of the story which is, as I said, set in a place that we're familiar with, but then we've got this whole other narrative which people in Britain aren't so familiar with. So it's a kind of bringing those two together, which I think makes it very powerful.
And it's also a very complicated story, because on the one hand, one part of the narrative is that you've had these individuals who took refuge in this holy site, but obviously there's a much deeper structure underscoring it. So in terms of researching that deeper structure to get to the heart of it, what did that involve?
So we travelled to many different countries, Italy, Spain, all across Europe. We went to Ireland, and we also Skyped in with people in Gaza, as well as researching in Palestine, to meet as many people and to kind of find out what happened and get as broad a perspective as we could.
Did you find that people were willing to talk about these events so many years after they'd happened?
Yes, some of them. Some of them were willing to talk, some of them no. Not at all.
They didn't want to talk about it?
Of course. It's a very painful story. It's not an easy thing to bring back. And even including the fighters themselves, some of them said, yes, we are willing to share our memories 13 years after what happened. But for some people, they just want to forget about it. They don't want to bring it back and discuss it again.
Sure. Well, you've actually got an interview that was conducted with one of the people you approached, so hopefully we'll be able to hear a clip of it now. It's actually on the system. Here it is.
We managed to organise ourselves quite well. After the 5th day of the siege, we started using everything available to us. On the 5th day, the occupation forces tried to invade the church. They started on the afternoon of the 5th day. They shot randomly, and all you could hear were loud explosions and bombs.
It's a very matter-of-fact, painful description, but I just want to pick up on a point that you raised before we saw that clip, that some people simply don't want to talk about it. They shut down when you raise the issue. So given that you've taken those recollections and you've built them into this play, some of those very people who didn't want to talk would probably find this very painful, because it is going over territory which was emotionally, for some, perhaps destructive. And here it is on a stage.
Yes. I mean, the research itself took 1.5 years to manage.
1.5 years?
Of course, it's a long research. It's not. We actually, on purpose, meant to have a long research because we want to collect materials, we want to collect stories, listen to people, because it's such a responsibility to bring back a historical event like that and to discuss it on stage. I mean, what art can do. Comparing to reality, that's a very dangerous thing to do, and we felt the responsibility from this side. So we came back and we discussed all the stories almost. We heard all the material that we recorded with people. When I'm saying people doesn't want to talk about it, I mean, yes, some people completely blocked and they don't want to cooperate, and they didn't want to cooperate in that. But some people wanted to share in a very, I would say, kind of superficial way, because they don't want to involve emotionally and kind of politically, because...
Sure. So there's a kind of detachment in telling that story, which I suppose is understandable because it is emotionally very, very deep.
Yeah.
Now, this is going on stage for the first time in London, and there's a lot of excitement about it because the tickets, as I understand it, have sold out. But there will presumably be a lot of controversy. There are people who would accuse you of being very biased in your interpretation. Are you prepared for that? Yeah,
I mean, we're obviously prepared. In the Freedom Theatre's history, they've gone through a lot of difficult times. But I would always say, come see the show. Yes, for sure, we're sold out in London, but we're all across the UK, and sometimes you have accusations before people have even seen the material. And I think, as I said, it's really, really important. Come watch the show, come debate, come talk, tell us what you liked, tell us what you didn't like. And then, you know, it opens up the way to have a conversation.
Yeah, and the other thing which is worth noting as well is that the play will be performed in Arabic with English subtitles. Now, from a technical perspective, was that very tricky? And isn't there a danger that perhaps the subtitles could actually detract from what's happening on the stage, that perhaps in some ways it thwarts the audience involvement?
I mean, you're right in this point, but I mean, let me explain why it's very, very important to present it this way. First, the language, you know, it's very difficult to change the language and to play it in English. Second, we have really good actors who's personally involved in what is happening. You have 6 actors, 6 Palestinian actors, mainly experienced in their whole life that event, almost on a daily basis. So their body language speaks for them. Their emotional states are there, Second is the English reading of the subtitles is just a clue to understand what is going on. So to involve 100% in what is going on in details, I think it's a very difficult mission, of course, unless we perform the play and then, you know, open the question and answer for people to go and dig so deep in what was happening exactly.
So you don't really lose sight of it because of these subtitles. You get a hint of it, what the English is, and then you just simply follow it.
But they get the idea very much. I mean, we presented the play in Manchester, Colchester, now at the BA Centre, and the review of that is wonderful because people have understood what is going on, I would say, exactly.
Sure. And it's interesting when you talk about the different places where it's been performed. Have you found that the reaction from the audiences has been pretty consistent, or does it vary from one audience to the other according to the location where it's performed?
I'd say it has been pretty consistent, and we're very lucky because we have quite an interesting tour in the sense that we're playing at some very, very big venues, but then we're also invited by local groups who have fundraised to, you know, have a connection with this theatre and have a connection with the community that we're bringing, and just want to see it in their local, you know, theatre or town hall style venues. So it's really interesting mixture.
And very, very briefly, in the time that's available, it is being performed in London for the first time. Which theatre and how long does the run last for?
So we're performing at the Battersea Arts Centre, and we started our run on Tuesday, and we will finish Saturday night tomorrow, and then we will continue touring for 4 more weeks across Britain.
So that's across Britain. And is there any chance that at some stage this play, because of what it has to say, given the events in the Middle East, could perhaps make it onto an even bigger venue in London?
I think that would be fantastic, and we also hope to maybe take it to Europe and also to tour it into Middle Eastern countries.
OK, well, look, we wish you the very best of luck
Thank
with that.
you.
It sounds absolutely fascinating, and congratulations on all the hard work that's been put into it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.